policy time.
I'm going to pull up another thing.
Yeah, sure. Why not? We have all these fun graphics. There we go.
There we go.
All right. So this has to deal with 538. What we know about Tulsi Gabbard's base. So Hawaiian Representative Tulsi Gabbard spent most of 2020 presidential campaign on basically attracting low levels of support. I find that interesting because there's been a recent update that she qualified in 3 of the 4 polls for the December Democratic debate. Right. So already she secured herself for the November debate, but she's almost there to securing herself for the December debate. So if that's the case, I mean, low levels of support, I mean, she's already pacing Kamala Harris. So go figure on this one. The Democratic establishment has been critical of the use of American power abroad. Her unorthodox views and conflict with the party have been fueled speculation that she might run as a third-party candidate, a claim that Gabbard has repeatedly denied. Okay, so now they're trying to figure out who Tulsi Gabbard's supporters are. We covered a story about this a while ago in the Washington Post some time ago, especially when it was focused in Iowa. For starters, despite her upstart campaign, Gabbard doesn't have a ton of supporters. She's averaging 1 to 2% in national surveys and 2 to 4% in the early states of Iowa and New Hampshire, but she's managed to meet the higher polling thresholds for debate qualification. So her support has grown at least a little, and what's more, a chunk of it seems to be exclusively backing Gabbard. Our survey found that 13% of Gabbard supporters said that they were only considering voting for her, a larger share than all Democratic candidates other than former Vice President Joe Biden and Senator Bernie Sanders, both of whom have support overall.
Can I just say something really quickly?
Go ahead.
I really hate when they word things. They're like, it's the most extreme number except these other numbers, which are more extreme. Anyway.
Right. And so, like, okay.
We were technically accurate in our statement that was hyperbolic in nature.
So the article then goes on to basically break down who Tulsi Gabbard's supporters are, but they do mention, like, who are some of the leading candidates in regards to percentage. They mentioned Bernie Sanders, they mentioned Elizabeth Warren, but they mentioned this too. Tulsi Gabbard's predominantly supported by males. An analysis by the Center of Responsive Politics found that 24% of Gabbard's itemized contributions have come from female donors, the smallest percent of any candidate in the race. So I find it interesting that they're mentioning that. Then they also go on to state that she is becoming a bit of a conservative media darling in the primary, and they're saying that she's being followed by a lot of pro-Trump people. So they're basically devolving Tulsi Gabbard supporters into being Trump supporters. But then they say how she has made exclusive appearances outside the political mainstream by going to the Joe Rogan Experience, one of the most popular podcasts in the country and a favorite outlet for members of the intellectual dark web.
Obviously a move only a Russian asset would do.
So first, hold on. I think I'm long overdue for this. Hey, 538. Number one.
This seems like such a low bar, Kit. Honestly,
No, because I'll tell you why. This is a bigger picture. This is the 5th article I read where somebody is saying that Joe Rogan is part of the dark web or conservative or an extremist.
Well, Joe Rogan says he's part of the dark web.
But
I get your point. Continue.
No. But what I'm saying is, hold on. What I'm saying is this. I've watched a lot of his shows. I've seen a lot of his interviews. There's no way you're going to tell me that Joe Rogan is with the alt-right or part of this great evil conspiracy. I mean, bullshit, because that means you're saying that every other independent media outlet, including ourselves, are part of this great conspiracy outside the mainstream media. If mainstream media is so great, why is it that people are leaving them en masse and coming to us? And then another thing too, you're saying that Tulsi Gabbard supporters are nothing but conservatives or pro-Trump people. You know, I've been following her campaign around and I've been seeing a lot of her rallies, and I'm not seeing pro-Trump people. I'm seeing a diverse background of numerous people. It's once again another smear job that corporate media is trying to do to progressive and independent candidates that are running in this 2020 race. Paul Daniel, take it away.
I think in some ways, particularly the Joe Rogan thing or just a smear thing, you kind of miss the forest for the trees. While those points are totally true and accurate, the bigger picture is it doesn't matter what Tulsi does. In the eyes of the mainstream press, it's wrong. Go back to 2016. Oh, Bernie plays too much to the base. Like, he'll never have any, GOP or Republican support. We need bipartisan candidates. We need people who will be able to reach across the aisle. The way to do that is to be moderate and definitely don't support these things. Tulsi has a lot of... You got to be
pragmatic, Paul. You got to be pragmatic.
Right, but then Tulsi comes along and actually has support across the aisle, and they're like, Trump supporter, deplorable, she's horrible, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you're going to be anti-war, if you're going to be anti-Wall Street, if you're going to be, this type of progressive, anything you do will be spun in a way that is negative, because there's every argument for every position you just get everyone to pile on and just group think your way through it.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying. Even with like the intellectual dark web or whatever it's called, like even that, it's like a group of people going together, but it's become this sinister cabal because again, these are people. I mean, Joe Rogan, direct competition to mainstream media, and we've if you've seen him talk to Andrew Yang, you've seen him talk to Bernie Sanders or Tulsi Gabbard, you could see like how is it that this comedian who does cage fighting is somehow like magnitudes better than anyone on corporate media ever could be in their wildest dreams. How is he able to talk so well and clear? How is it that Bernie Sanders can go on? And I just heard from someone that was on the Hill, part of his campaign, talking about it, and they're like, he opened up a whole new audience to us that we never had access to before.
Yeah.
So again, Paul is exactly right. This is not a Tulsi Gabbard issue that they're coming with from 538. It's a, can we take everything that she does well and make it gaslight it into itself? Oh, we need people. We can't have Bernie Sanders. He doesn't get Republicans, even though he does. We need someone who can get Republicans like Joe Biden. Tulsi Gabbard getting Republicans? What terrible. She must be a Russian plant that goes with Republicans and has nesting dolls that are somehow also Republican in data centers that are also Republican. Or Tulsi Gabbard. And here's the thing. And we had someone on a while back that Laney interviewed. I forget his name off the top of my head.
He was a libertarian.
He was a libertarian. That's who's actually going for Tulsi Gabbard. It's the anti-war right who is basically stuck with Trump. And a lot of them are those Ron Paul type people who would never think about voting Democrat, except they really like Tulsi Gabbard. Yeah. So what we're saying is Tulsi Gabbard has the ability, and now it's been shown, and they're using it as a weapon against her, for pulling Republicans off Trump, which I thought was the whole point of this election. Well, it's not just what we say. Yeah. We say, hey, policy matters, who you're voting for matters, all these other things. Yeah. But the media is saying nonstop, we need to go with someone who can beat Trump. If you can pull 5% of Trump's base away from him, that's huge. That's enough to win. And on top of that, you go to the whole women angle that they're going at. And I always want to say, hey, mainstream media, aren't you supposed to say women stand with women? Hasn't that been your entire mantra for like the last 2 years, ever since Harvey Weinstein came out? The mainstream media is like, how can we weaponize this entire thing? Which it already was a weapon. I guess that's kind of ironic. So Tulsi Gabbard is demonized by women, and she's basically shut out of being a woman. Again, it's crazy. It's like Bernie Sanders, old white male, terrible, terrible, terrible. Women need to stand with women. Hey, do you like Tulsi Gabbard? Oh, fuck Tulsi Gabbard. I can't go near her. Guys.
So really quick to summarize, right? By Hillary Clinton's logic, Hillary Clinton is sexist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, also on top of that, too, it's like, how many times are we going to be seeing an article similar to this? Because the Washington Post did a smear piece on Tulsi Gabbard supporters early on, basically saying that they were weird or that they were a certain kind of demographic or that they haven't heard of any other presidential candidate that were running, even though there was that infamous quote from a certain person named Michael Hunt. Even though I think that flew over the Washington Post's head. I mean, maybe
if it's not a real name, I thought that was genius.
Well, whoever. I mean, come on, Washington Post. You're associated with $1 billion corporation. You should guys really do some due diligence, because I think you guys were getting played. But nonetheless, this is something that happens to a lot of progressives and independents who are running in this 2020 election cycle. No matter what they do, CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, Fox News, CBS, NPR, they're going to smear progressives and independents. They're going to tear them down. They're going to make their supporters seem weird. But now more than ever, this is the evidence and the proof to show that establishment media is on its deathbed. And it's time for it to move over for something fresh. And that's independent media. And that's what we're doing here at Hard Lens Media.